Nurses are afraid to go to work because they have to put up with addicts using meth, crack, and weapons in their hospital room. Even nurses are having to give up on breastfeeding because they're worried their kids will be contaminated with the drugs they breathed in. What the hell are they thinking over there? Yeah.
Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Fox. We're back in question period today, where there was an explosion of attacks against the Liberals for the failed safe supply policy in British Columbia. They also tried to attack Pierre for taking pictures with some Canadians on the side of the road protesting the carbon tax. And let's just say it didn't go the way they hoped.
Let's take a look.
Leader of the opposition.
After 9 years, this Prime Minister is not worth the drugs, disorder, death, and destruction. In May of 2022, he granted the BC NDP government's request for a criminal code exemption to allow crack, meth, heroin, and fentanyl use in parks, coffee shops, hospitals, beaches. Overdose deaths since exploded to a record-smashing 2,500 lost lives. The BC NDP government has reversed course and asked the federal government to recriminalize some hard drugs. Why won't this Prime Minister recriminalize these deadly drugs?
The Honourable Minister for Mental Health and Addictions.
So, we've done multiple videos on this insane policy. And the Liberals keep talking about, oh, well, you know, it's not our clean narcotics that are actually causing people problems. It's the, and this is the new term, toxic drug supply. Like, I'm sorry, you can OD on liberal drugs just as much as you can OD on non-liberal drugs.
You can OD on over-the-counter stuff like Tylenol too. Like,
and as we've seen, what's happening is that these narcotics are being given out for free, paid for by the Canadian taxpayer, and these people are taking them and trading them or selling them to kids to get them addicted, taking that money and then going buying the even harder stuff. And the RCMP is seeing safe supply crap all over the country. So this is just, it's out of a movie, right? Because this policy is so asinine. And the thinking is, oh, well, you know, we will just decriminalize and make it okay for people to have cocaine, meth, and heroin and the rest of it. And then that will decrease the amount of use of it. Like, it is just so stupid.
I honestly think the logic, quote unquote logic, behind decriminalizing these drugs is that, oh, it'll save lives, because if it's decriminalized, then people won't be afraid to come forward and ask for help for treatment. Okay, I'll give them that, maybe. But the other thing they say is that, oh, well, people will be using these drugs around other people or in public, and then if they overdose, people will see it, call 911 and save their life.
So basically, let's make it everybody else's problem that they OD instead of just their own.
Right. And again, in society, we have certain rules, certain laws for the betterment of society. If you break those laws, then you run the risk of whatever consequences are associated with breaking those laws.
But this is the whole problem with this Liberal government. They don't accept responsibility for any of their actions. And they're basically saying all these people that are doing all of the wrong things, whether it be crime, whether it be drugs or anything like that, it's not their responsibility. It's everybody else's responsibility to make sure that they get taken care of. And it's just, it's insane.
Yeah, it's okay for junkies to be using intravenous drugs at the park, where my child could step on a needle and then end up with something like HIV or AIDS for the rest of his life. But, you know, as long as,
you know, that person gets their hit, who cares?
Yeah, I don't even know what the as long as is.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. There has been so much resistance to it. The NDP BC government has completely backed off from that, right? So this was posted on April 26 on the Globe and Mail. BC is banning all illicit drug use in public, a major policy reversal of its decriminalization pilot project after a recent outcry from healthcare workers worried about patients using drugs in hospitals, as well as criticism from political leaders. Yeah, this is the whole problem. So this is not a big issue. This should be a no-brainer, slam dunk.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we answered the call of the BC government when they requested the exemption on decriminalization of personal possession of certain illicit drugs. Mr. Speaker, what is driving this overdose crisis is the illegal drug supply. Every life lost is a tragedy. I met with Minister Whiteside this past Friday. We are reviewing their exemption request. Mr. Speaker, we have a clear lens on public health and public safety because we have a plan. They do not.
So your plan is to give everybody drugs and have them overdose. And your excuse is that it's not us causing the problem with OD overdoses. No. It's the toxic drug supply.
Well, and we've spoken about this in past videos, but the term, and I'm surprised she's not using it here, but the term you commonly hear is safe supply. And that's not a medical term, that's a marketing term.
Yeah, it's a political marketing term.
It's to make users feel that, oh, the drugs given by the government are safe to use, they won't harm you. Again, you can overdose on anything. You can overdose on water. So, like, this safe supply word is a complete misnomer. We prefer to use the term publicly supplied addictable drugs because that's what they are. They're addictable drugs that are supplied by the government.
And you have kids getting addicted to the stuff because the junkies that are using it aren't getting treatment. They're taking it and they're not getting the high they used to off of it. And they're giving it or selling it to kids, getting them hooked on it. And then they're going to use that money to buy the harder stuff. It's disgusting.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
She's wasting time while people are dying. In the year after this radical Prime Minister granted the decriminalization of crack, heroin, and other hard drugs in parks and hospitals, 2,500 people died. The overdose death in the 9 years of this Prime Minister have tripled to the fastest rising of the 11 countries studied by the Commonwealth Fund. Nurses are afraid to go to work because they have to put up with addicts using meth, crack, and weapons in their hospital room. Even nurses are having to give up on breastfeeding because they're worried their kids will be contaminated with the drugs they breathed in. What the hell are they thinking over there?
This is the clown show that we live in. And, you know, when I was growing up, I would never have imagined this would be a point of debate in Parliament.
Yeah, we were taught growing up and in school and everything, like, drugs are bad. Don't
Just
do
say
drugs.
no.
Just say no, that's right.
Right? Remember those commercials? You know, this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. And they crack the egg and put it in the frying pan. Like, clearly these liberals have been using their safe supply because they are acting like they are on drugs. And any reasonable Canadian, you don't even have to look at the rest of the liberal policies. You just have to look at this one and ask yourself, is this the government that I want making decisions for my kids?
Well, and these policies come from ideologues within the medical field that they're so focused on one thing, usually saving lives, and everything else is it's not even secondary. It's just not on the radar. It's like what happened during COVID, where saving life was so important. They were willing to destroy our entire economy, destroy people's mental health, destroy children's development. None of that mattered as long as people didn't die. I mean, human life is important. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's not, but there needs to be a balance. In this case, you cannot say that saving the lives of certain people or even potentially saving the lives of certain people, because we don't know that it's a certainty, but potentially saving the lives of certain people is more important than the rest of society and how society functions and keeping everyone else in society safe.
Well, they don't give a damn about these people. Like, the thing is that the conservative policies and approaches to this, which is treatment, that's what's going to save lives.
Absolutely.
You know, giving people more drugs, more of the deadly substance, that is not going to save lives. That is going to make everything worse. Case closed. There's no debate. That's it. So I agree with Pierre. What the hell are they thinking over there?
Honourable member, as a long-time member of this House, I'll just ask him to withdraw the offensive word because it is not parliamentary.
I withdraw because they're not thinking over there.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, last week we saw the Leader of the Opposition once again encourage supporters of white supremacy, anarchy, and misogyny. This has been a regular occurrence. He draws the admiration of people who dismiss the slaughter of children in our schools. The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you from Hamas.
Oh, here goes Fergus with his mic again.
Well, he
'cause-
muted the whole room.
Yep. Because and this is the most disgusting thing, folks. The question was about the drug policy and all the people dying. The answer is, hey, Pierre decided to stop and take some pictures with some people on the side of the road that were protesting the carbon tax.
You know, and I said this in the previous video where we touched on this topic, and I'll say it again. Pierre, when he becomes prime minister, he's going to be prime minister of all Canadians. He doesn't get to pick and choose who he wants to be prime minister of. He doesn't get to favor some Canadians and demonize others the way Trudeau does. No, he's a leader, and he's going to lead all Canadians. So why wouldn't he speak to Canadians? Like, it's a no-brainer to me.
Pierre just stopped at a protest because he saw it on the news. They were protesting the carbon tax. That's it. That's it. So the fact that they are trying to conflate this with kids being killed in schools, are you kidding me?
That's disgusting. McKinnon should be ashamed of himself.
They all should. Especially when you're more concerned about Pierre stopping over at a carbon tax protest than you are about the people that you were literally killing in British Columbia. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Liberal government.
Calculated to create disorder.
I'm going to invite the government House Leader to start from the top and to choose his words very carefully so that they do not cause disorder in the House.
Mr. Speaker, last week we saw the Leader of the Opposition once again visit with supporters of white supremacy, anarchy, and misogyny. This has been a regular occurrence. He draws the admiration of people who dismiss the slaughter of children in schools. The Leader of the Opposition now has 30 seconds to speak to this House and to Canadians once I sit down. I ask him to clearly disavow the views of these dangerous people. Will he do that?
Oh, shut up, Freeland. Seriously. Like, these guys are getting me aggravated. Again, Trudeau was literally thanked by Hamas. Now, you don't have to agree with everything going on in Gaza. You don't have to disagree with everything going on in Gaza. But we can all accept that Hamas has been identified as a terrorist organization. And when a terrorist organization thanks you...
You're doing something very wrong.
Right? So, here's the thing. If you're going to go after Pierre for talking to some people and having some people say, hey, he's a good guy, like, what do you want him to do? Right? There's a difference between somebody south of the border saying, hey, when that guy was talking to that reporter, he did a good job. There's that, and that's completely different than a terrorist organization thanking you for supporting a piece of legislation that benefits them. It's completely different. You don't even know what to say anymore when it comes to these liberals. And you got to wonder, how the heck do these conservatives sit there with even the heckling that they do? They are maintaining calm across from that insanity.
Order. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I unequivocally disavow the guy who spent the first half of his adult life as a practicing racist, dressing up in blackface, and who since accepted the support of Hamas. He's accepted rejected the support of Hamas, and now he's brought on the extremist and radical position of allowing legal drug use in playgrounds, in hospitals, in coffee shops that has led to the mass death of our people. Will he not refuse the demand of Toronto to replicate the decriminalization nightmare?
And there you go, folks. You want to come after me for stopping by a group of protesters that are protesting your carbon tax, and you're trying to associate them, and by definition, associate Pierre with white supremacy and all this other garbage, when your leader has dressed up in blackface so many times, he can't even remember. Like, there's no comparison here, folks. But again, the Liberals have nothing on Pierre, and they're going after every single little thing to try and latch onto this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Max Valakat here. But, you know, we don't want to talk about the policy changes that we've made in Canada that have led to the death of thousands. We just want to, you know, try and smear Pierre by association with some people that he's stopped off on the side of the road.
Well, an article released in the Hill Times today essentially says that the Liberals' plan to try to close this gap between the Conservatives and Trudeau is to hang on as long as possible, because they think that the more that time that passes, the more opportunities Pierre will have to quote unquote screw up, and then he will lose favor with the public. They're trying to make this scenario where he was talking with these protesters into one of these instances of angering the public and hoping that Pierre will fall out of favor with them. It's not working.
No, because A, Canadians are seeing through all of the crap. The Canadian public doesn't believe the Liberals anymore, and the more outlandish stuff that they come out with, it just reduces their credibility even more. You know, this is the problem. Nobody is listening to them anymore. They've completely tuned out. So, good luck, guys, because you're not moving up in the polls, and the more time that goes on, you're moving down. So you may as well just call an election now and scrape whatever reputation you have off the floor, because you wait till next October. Yeah, it'll be a race to the bottom between you and the NDP.